What's up, everybody? This is Fred Rachani of TSC News. I have right here on the line our homegirl, Kimberly Angle, who's talking all the latest news on NXT. She just attended the NXT tapings, and we're going to get some exclusive updates on some of your favorite up-and-coming stars. Kim, what's going on? Been a long time.
Nope. Nothing much, just pulling out. Rainy Friday night down here in Orlando, so just kind of sticking around at home and hanging out. That's it.
Yeah, I feel you. Now, you just attended the NXT tapings. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. Spoiler alert for anybody that doesn't want to be spoiled, that says, oh, why'd you spoil it? Well, she is our NXT correspondent. We are talking NXT, so maybe you want to listen to this in a week or two or four if you don't want to be spoiled. But before we get to that, some people may know you are a distant cousin of Kurt Angle. I was just wondering real quickly, how's he holding up after his latest surgery?
From what I understand, he's doing well. I mean, nothing, basic recovery, stuff people go through after surgery. But no major bumps in the road or anything like that. And nothing that, he won't get through quickly as he always does, because that's just the way he is. He's a nut when it comes to that stuff. He'll fight through anything and just come back out on top even better. So.
Awesome. Well, definitely want to send our best wishes to Kurt Angle. If you want to send him well wishes, I believe his Twitter handle is @RealKurtAngle. Feel free to tweet him and direct your messages of encouragement his way. Now, NXT, for those that haven't been following, Finn Balor is the current NXT champion. He beat Kevin Owens at the Beast in the East show on WWE Network a couple weeks back. We have Blake and Murphy. Shocking that there's another Murphy in pro wrestling. I thought TNA had the first and only Murphy, but no, we have to have one in NXT too. They're the current tag team champions. They still have the worst theme music I've ever heard. Although Freddie Mitchell has affectionately dubbed them the Dubstep Cowboys, which I kind of like.
Yes.
The one thing
they call them down at the shows too.
Oh, do they?
Dubstep
Yeah.
Cowboys.
The one thing I do like about Blake and Murphy is that they have Alexa Bliss, who looks great and is a great. I think has become a great heel. At first I was like, Alexa Bliss, a heel, but she's been great. And of course, the NXT Women's Champion is still Sasha Banks, who just debuted on Raw with Becky Lynch and Charlotte. So before we get to what went down on these NXT tapings, I'm curious on your take about the NXT women debuting on Raw.
I didn't see it then that night. I think I'm not surprised about Charlotte and Sasha at all. Becky kind of took me back that they debuted her, because from what I understand, I think she was hurt too, and that's how she came back. But I mean, they need new women on the roster. I don't think that Becky is going to go main roster there right away. I think Charlotte and Sasha will be up there within the next month or so, and I feel like Sasha's probably going to drop that title after the TV taping last night, watching that Bayley's going to be the next champ.
So you think Becky's going to spend a little bit more time in NXT? Well, they're technically all on the main roster, so are you saying like Becky might not be as prominent as, say, Charlotte and Sasha in the next month or so?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and actually, I did see the results of the tapings. It's very, very interesting, and it's definitely an end of an era. I'll say that. With Becky, Sasha, and Charlotte, essentially going to be on the main roster permanently within a month or two. Now I'm assuming they might do some NXT house shows here and there, but let's just say by the end of the year they're all full time main roster, no NXT. Do you have any faith in this current WWE creative team that they will eventually progress this Divas division into a women's division?
That's what I've heard, and I hope, and I think if anyone can, like that, those three there are. Becky's the one I'm still kind of in limbo about. I really sometimes get, but I almost feel that's because of the gimmick they've kind of forced on her. Not really her, but just I feel like she's more entertaining as a person with the gimmick. But they're all three, like three of the best female wrestlers I've seen in a long time come through any promotion, and we all knew what Charlotte was going to be able to become. I mean, that's just was not like a given. Not that she didn't put the work into it, because she's definitely put the work into it. And Sasha stayed kind of stagnant there for a while. I was kind of worried about her down at NXT, like what they were going to do. And then when they brought her in as the boss, I was like, yes. So I mean, it's just because the WWE really drops the ball on some of these when they get to the main roster, because even you can say what you want about Emma, but Emma's a really good wrestler. I hated her gimmick. But
Oh
as
no,
far
I
as
think she's
wrestling,
really
like,
talented. It just, you know what amazes me too? It's the fact that it's taken them 2 years to realize, wait a minute, she's a hot chick. Maybe we should market her as a hot chick that kicks ass. Like,
oh my
how?
God, she's
How
gorgeous.
does, what? Like, how? Like
Yeah.
they found a way to make, and I've always thought Emma was attractive, but I mean, they found a way to make her, like, pardon the lack of a better term, assets would be in the ring and physically. Like they failed at that for 2 years. I mean, this is a chick that was trained by Lance Storm that had a kick-ass match with Paige that got people talking even before the Charlotte and Natalya match. And they stuck her in this stupid gimmick. I mean, it's like as soon as Santino retired, she was going nowhere.
Right. No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I was really upset with, and I think they really dropped the ball with Summer Rae too, because Summer Rae was a decent wrestler. Could be a beast in the ring, like, and they really dropped the ball with her when they brought her up. So I really hope. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to drop the ball with Charlotte, but
it's going to be hard. But you know what? This is the same. But you know what?
The one that I worry about them dropping the ball with is Becky. Is the one that I'm worried that they will waste.
Well, you know something too. You mentioned Charlotte. You know, you don't think that they'll drop the ball with her. If you remember, maybe I think it was like 5-6 months ago, she technically made her Raw debut against Natalya,
right?
And they had a 2-minute match. Charlotte was the Divas champion or the women's champion for NXT, and she lost in 2 minutes, and that was served as quote unquote promotion for the upcoming NXT special. Like, are you kidding me? Like I hope and pray that since this is Triple H's project, and since Stephanie McMahon attached her name to this, even though I didn't like her involvement in the segment on Monday, I hope that they can protect these women because they're so talented. And you know what? To be fair to the Bellas, I know the Bellas get a lot of flack and everything, but the Bellas were one of the few divas on the main roster that spoke up months ago in an interview and said that they would like to see a bunch of NXT divas called up, and they talked about begging the boss to call up some more divas so they have more opponents, especially after AJ's retirement and everything. So the Bellas off camera, seem to be big proponents of some new blood in there too. And I think Sasha, I think Charlotte, Becky could have some really good matches with the Bellas. But I think the big important thing is them getting in the ring together, because when those three are in the ring, some combination, it's it is magic. The only I had a few issues, but the only real issue when it comes to in-ring that I have right now, besides the obvious, which is, is their time going to be cut, or are they going to get 2-minute matches or whatever, is the fact that Charlotte and Becky are technically on the same team with Paige. I know I'd like these women to have been brought in maybe week after week, you know what I mean, and kind of all be against each other. The fact that Charlotte and Becky are aligned with Paige tells me that all three aren't going to be wrestling each other anytime soon, and that to me is a little unfortunate.
And they're 3 quality female wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
They're all 3 top of the game right now. So I get what you're saying there.
Yeah, and I am a little annoyed too that Sasha Banks is aligned with Naomi and Tamina of all people.
Why? I like Tamina. I've always liked Tamina. Like, Naomi's kind of hit or miss. I mean, I feel
God bless Tamina, okay? I know wrestling's in her blood, but Tamina hasn't improved in years. She had something going on when she was originally with the Usos years ago.
Hurt, right? I know what you're saying. She's been hurt, and it's just kind of like she's whatever. Kind of been in limbo forever.
She's whatever, and she's honestly, with all due respect to her, I'm sure she's a nice young woman, but she's not very good in the ring. And I think she's even worse than Naomi. I think Naomi to me is like a poor man's female RVD. There's times where she's got some really cool stuff, and there's times where she could be just sloppy as all hell. And you know what? Even Paige, and I think it's more quality of opposition with Paige, but even Paige hasn't had too many good main roster matches, in recent months.
I've noticed that somewhat. Well, I've watched the pay-per-views, and I don't know. I noticed that though. She's not near as I don't, like I said, Emma's the one I feel like they really, really dropped the ball with. And I still say Summer Rae, I don't care what anybody says, Summer Rae they could have did something way better with her too.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think the shame in that is that she's regressed in the ring because she doesn't wrestle. She never and if they're not going to use her as a wrestler, why bother training if you're to take bumps and get better if they're just going to use you as a valet anyway? I mean, in her case, it's like, hell, I'll just stand alongside Rusev and look pretty.
Because I honestly, I really wasn't a fan of hers until she started wrestling. So basically, it was around because she started getting in the ring around the time I moved down here, and once I started watching her actually wrestle, she was nasty in the ring. She was good, and I was really impressed by her. And then once they put her in the main roster, like you said, they didn't really put her in the ring as a wrestler, and I was like, what are they doing.
I mean, I didn't even mind her with Fandango, but here's the problem. It's their weird inferiority complex. It's like Fandango and Summer Rae are a great team. Let's break them up. Hey, Wyatt family's a hot act. Let's break them up. Why? Oh, it's just time to break them up. And we've seen what happened with the Wyatt family, since they've broken up. And it's the same thing when it comes to invaders or new people. Kevin Owens comes in, gets a huge win over John Cena. He could have gotten mileage off of that win the entire summer. Built up to a big SummerSlam match. He loses to Cena in 2 weeks instead. You had the Nexus, with the old NXT, come in, wreak havoc, and then they lose their first big match at SummerSlam 2010. And, you go back to the WCW invasion. I mean, this company's just never been good with invaders. You know what I mean? They really haven't been good, and I hope and pray that they don't screw this up with the NXT chicks. I think long term it's going to be impossible for them to, just because of the caliber of them. And if Bayley gets called up eventually too, I mean, that's no offense to Ronda Rousey, but that's the real 4 horsewomen if you're talking about skill all around. But call me skeptical. So, but
I feel like they would call Bayley up sooner, but there's nobody in NXT really ready. If they take Bayley, there's nobody down there that's championship material. Not that there isn't some girls that couldn't be or can't be, but they're not to that level at all right now. Mm-hmm. Because other than Bayley, you really only have the only other ones that you got Dana Brooke and you got Carmella, which Carmella really surprises me too. Like, she's come a long way. Like, I'm actually like, wow, she can wrestle constantly.
And I feel like Dana Brooke too has gotten better every week. She's really she's not great, but she's improving a lot.
They pushed. My thing with Dana, and I love Dana. She's probably my favorite diva down. She is my favorite diva down there, hands down. Is they prematurely pushed her for that Arnold Classic before she was really ready to be on TV and wrestle and stuff like that, because they wanted the coverage, the publicity for the Arnold Classic. So I think they put her in there too soon, and because she was training more for that than the wrestling, so she wasn't that good at first. And everybody's giving her flack, and now that she's getting better, they're still like, oh, she's horrible. But Dana will be fine in time. I mean, I feel like they just moved her too quick for their own gain, basically.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the Dana Brooke thing and how the crowd hasn't been really all that, patient with her, even though she's actually gotten a hell of a lot better. She got a huge pop on last night's taping, a huge pop. We had a whole section with Dana Brooke's on.
Okay.
Oh, then that's good then. But I feel like with the NXT, it's treading into dangerous territory here, because we have the big Brooklyn show coming up in my neck of the woods at Barclays Center. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor headlining. Jushin Thunder Liger announced to be facing Tyler Breeze at that show as well, which is a big pickup. And according to Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer on Twitter, New Japan sent Jushin Liger to NXT. So I don't know if that could create a relationship with NJPW and WWE, and who the hell knows what's going to happen with Ring of Honor, since Ring of Honor has New Japan's top stars headlining their show on that same night. But I'm a little worried with NXT in some ways, at least with some of the younger talent like Dana Brooke, because originally the goal of NXT was developmental. Yeah, to create stars of the future so they can make WWE real money on the main roster. And right now I feel like NXT is slowly but surely trying to become WWE's version of ECW. Or Ring of Honor, and that's
Ring
great.
Of Honor, right?
Yeah,
I parallel to Ring of Honor more than anything else.
Yeah, and that's great when it comes to hardcore fans like you and me, especially you being in Orlando, being able to get to witness it and everything. But I think it's counterproductive.
I don't like it.
I think it's And my point is, I feel like it's counterproductive because, on one hand, it's great that you could go to Philly and all these other places and say you outdrew Ring of Honor and got these crowds, but in reality, I mean, let's be real here. They're not making going and selling out these shows in front of 5,000 people or so is not going to get WWE its return on investment on that ridiculously expensive performance center. I mean, it's just not, unless they're trying to get NXT. Unless it's trying to get NXT, a real TV deal where a company like USA or whoever pays them money. I don't know what the deal is with that, but. I don't know. I feel like short term, it's cool. It's like, oh my God, WWE's doing this. They're bringing all these new guys, and I'm happy with that. That's cool and all. I love seeing Samoa Joe there and everything. But long term, I think it's really detrimental to people like Dana Brooke and Baron Corbin and people that are there to develop that are now unfortunately going to be looked at as crap compared to, say, Joe and Owens and guys that actually have real experience.
No, I agree.
I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
Okay, because it's kind of like, all right,
it's a double-edged sword, I know.
It takes in one hand and half dozen in the other, because, like, I don't know, everybody gets mad at me because, like, when Joe and them come out to wrestle, I'm going outside or go get something to eat or something. They're like, I'm going to watch Samoa Joe, and it's like, I've been watching Samoa Joe for 10, 15 years. Not that Samoa Joe is not a good wrestler, I don't enjoy him, but I didn't come to NXT to watch Samoa Joe. That's not why I got into NXT. I got into NXT because I like to watch the wrestlers develop. They asked me who my favorite wrestler at NXT when people ask me, and I'm like, Scott Dawson. And they're like, Scott Dawson? And they're like, what? I'm like, I've watched Scott evolve over the last 4 years into what he is now, and it's amazing. Like, I just get bored with watching somebody that you know is good, and I'm not going to say they don't surprise you during their matches, but you kind of already know what you're getting when you go into it. I like that element of surprise. Like I said, Jason Jordan's another one. I love to watch Jason wrestle because he's one that's been down there since FCW. So you're right on that. It's kind of, and like you said about the Performance Center, I never really thought about it like that. But that Performance Center is crazy. There's like 4 rings in it, and it's just, what it is outlandish. And like you're saying, it's not, those guys right now are not in that Performance Center using it like the rest of them either. And you're right. I don't see how they can get a return on the money they put into that place on going up to Philly and those shows like that. So that does make sense.
And you go to a lot of Evolve shows and FIP shows and any shows that are affiliated with the company WWN Live, which is, I guess, run by Gabe Sapolsky and another business partner of his and everything. And it's interesting because there was a lot of rumors a couple weeks back about Evolve having a relationship with WWE. Gabe was tweeting out some random characters, including WWE on Twitter, that maybe was just kind of playing to the rumors. Maybe something there to that. If WWE does end up making a real deal with New Japan, because you gotta assume that they're gonna want exclusivity, with dealing with New Japan and everything. Let's just say WWE decides, like, okay, you know what, we want to occasionally have New Japan guys on NXT shows to compete with Ring of Honor, whether it's cost effective or not, whatever. Could you see like the WWN promotions kind of being like, I guess, more or less what NXT is supposed to be, kind of like a developmental territory in some ways for some of the guys like Baron Corbin or Dana Brooke or, I don't know, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, guys like that, where they can kind of cut their teeth.
No, but it would have to be only if they are tied with WWE, because it's like they'd still have to need that Performance Center and the trainers WWE has. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't, WWE's got like some of the best trainers. Robbie Brooks, excellent trainer. Norman Smiley, too. Like, you can't, like, there's so many, I mean, I hate to say it, God, please forgive me, but just the fact, like, since Bill DeMott's been gone, and this is nothing personal against Bill DeMott, because he was always nice to me, always cool guy, but I've noticed that there's a lot of these FCW guys that were kind of just lost in the shuffle are now kind of coming into their own, like, they're bringing them into their own. They should have been brought into their own a long time ago. But I don't know, like, because it's almost like, too, if WWE Live got mixed up with NXT, and that's the case, then really independent wrestling has died in Florida, if they do that, too. So,
yeah,
I don't know. That didn't make much sense to me, all that, truthfully. I mean,
and you know what? You know what actually makes more sense? Why don't they have a satellite promotion on the West Coast? There's so many great wrestlers that have come out of the LA area years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rick Bassman discovered Ultimate Warrior and Sting there. John Cena was discovered there. Samoa Joe. I mean, you look back at that when Ultimate Pro Wrestling, run by Rick Bassman, was kind of more or less a developmental territory for WWE in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, they produced so much freaking talent. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't. Plus, there's so many people that want to be models and actors and actresses, and WWE occasionally likes to recruit people and try to build them from scratch, for better or worse. I mean, I feel like that LA area would be perfect. And if you work with New Japan, last time I checked, New Japan, one of New Japan's dojos is on the West Coast in California, I think in Los Angeles or in Los Angeles County. So to me, that would make more sense.
I'm pretty sure that's where Robert Stone did some training and stuff was there.
Yeah.
It was in California.
Yeah, I don't see like why do you need another promotion in Florida? In my opinion, I mean, why do you need one in the Northeast? WWE's based in the Northeast. I would rather have one there. I would if I had a choice, I would have one on the West Coast, one in Latin America, Mexico. Especially if you want to try to breed a new Mexican star, which they've failed at doing since Rey Mysterio in his prime.
There's nothing going on at NXT as far as any type of Latino stars right now. None.
Exactly.
I mean,
there you go.
Mexican, Puerto Rican, Spanish, anything. Nothing. I don't think there's not a single one. There's not a single one like in development right now that I know of. I mean, not even like that has just. You know what I mean? They haven't even signed anything, so really do anything. Like there's not a single one.
Yeah, and then also Canada. I mean, I know they kind of have already a loose relationship with Lance Storm, and they already signed Kevin Owens, and of course they have Sami Zayn just probably be called up by
Tyler Breeze is from Canada.
Tyler Breeze from Canada. Oh, he's not pushed as Canadian, but like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have like true top star potential. So like you do have guys that can be pushed as like those top Canadian stars, but I just feel like especially West Coast and Canada, I mean, and Latin America, those three places, I feel like they should absolutely have some type of satellite promotion or some type of working agreement, and Japan too. I mean, and if they do that with New Japan, that'd be great if they had some talent exchange. I would prefer to keep it based with NXT, which I think it's what they're doing, just because I really don't trust this main roster writing team to book an Okada or book a Nakamura, and also I don't believe too that they'd put those guys on the main roster unless they were actually signed. I mean, you look at Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was allowed to work anywhere he wanted, and as soon as Ring of Honor got national TV, they said, "Okay, Joe, sign an exclusive deal." So,
right,
we'll see. Now, as we mentioned, you attended the recent NXT tapings for the next, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. Spoiler alert, everybody! Right. Let's first talk about Ava Marie, who made her new, I guess, re-debut in NXT. How'd she do?
She was okay. I mean, I'm not going to knock her. She didn't really, it wasn't horrible. I mean, I've seen worse on the main roster, I'll put it that way. She wrestled, Jasmine Aribi. I don't know, I forget what Jasmine's name is with NXT. And, like I said, the match was pretty good until it was kind of slow paced. A lot of, like, arm bars, just stuff like that. Like, nothing too, like, the wrestling was more on Jasmine's side. But at the same time, I'll give you Marie's fact that she actually was selling stuff well. You know what I mean? She didn't really miss stuff. But then at the end, when she went to hit her finisher, you could really tell that Jasmine, like, lifted her up for it. Mm-hmm. Like, it was almost to the point where she really did finish her. And she didn't really know until Eva Marie climbed on top of her pinner. It was Eva Marie's finisher because just the way it was so... Whether I mean, like I said, I don't know if both are fault, whose fault that was exactly, but the finisher was not good. But plus of the match was decent. I mean, I've seen a lot worse. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I wasn't like, oh my god, this is crap. So it was definitely better than anything she's done before. I'll take that. So
right, and she, her
ring gear was awesome. She came out in this big red glitter.
I saw pics online. It was really cool, like a big red cape thing.
Yeah, it's like a big red sequin, like Ric Flair type robe with black feather. It was, I mean, I was like, oh, girl. I mean, it looked good. Like, she's got a lot of work, but I mean, you could tell she's been trying. She's been training. Like, she definitely hasn't been slacking. So,
yeah, I mean, Brian Kendrick's no slouch, and she used the sliced bread number 2 as her finisher. The Kendrick, in homage to her trainer. And yeah, good for her. And it's just funny to see the Total Divas storyline where all the girls hate her because she's getting her own personal trainer. Why not hate on the company then? That's such a stupid storyline. And in reality, why are you hating on a girl that's actually trying to justify the money she's making in WWE? This chick could easily just sit on the sidelines and model and be useless like Rosa Mendez, but she's actually trying. No,
that's what I actually talked to her last night for the first time. Like I said, and she was like much more personable than I thought she could be too. I mean, I think it's talked to her too long, but she was nice. She was sweet. Like, she was really nice. Like, the little girl next to me had her sign her action figure and stuff like that. And this was the first time that security hasn't rushed her out of there either. Because everybody would always talk about how nasty she was, and I was like, I don't really think that's her. I think that's security. Mm-hmm. Like, because wholesale security can be really just jerks to people. So, no, I think she had a good bit of redemption. In my eyes, she did. At least she got some redemption last night. So I think she's on the right path. She's doing what she should do
Cool,
for
cool.
where she's at.
Cool. And you said she'd be Jasmine or she'd be Cassie?
She wrestled Jasmine Aribi, who she wrestled.
Okay, cool.
So, but that could be Cassie. I don't know if somebody else wrestled Cassie. Oh, Lena wrestled Cassie in the dark match.
Okay.
Lena Farine, The Rock's cousin.
Okay.
Made her debut last night. Wasn't on. It was the dark match though. She's wrestled the houses. She made her full debut. She's the one who wrestled Cassie.
She looks like she's got the same kind of outfit as Jessica Havoc, although she seems to have more common sense than Jessica Havoc too.
It is kind of like that. It's kind of like Jessica Havoc meets Awesome Call.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
She did well with it though. I mean, she's. I mean, that's the first time I had seen her wrestle. Because she's been doing some of the house shows, haven't been going to the house shows much, but it was I mean, she did pretty well too. I mean, for what the gimmick is, what she's given. I mean, you can tell she's strong as an ox regardless. Like the way she threw that little girl on that ring, like you couldn't fake that if you wanted to. So, which I mean, it's cool because they kind of need something like her down. They don't have anything really different like that down there right now. So, I mean, if all goes well with her too, I think she can kind of take off.
All right, hang on. Am I reading this correctly? Now I'm kind of skipping ahead here. We were talking about Ava Marie. That's for the upcoming episode, this coming week. But I'm reading here: Baron Corbin beat Jesse Sorensen.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that.
Hang on. For those that don't know, Jesse Sorensen was a former X Division wrestler for TNA Impact Wrestling. Not the most charismatic guy, but a hell of a talent for somebody his age. I mean, early 20s or so. Mm-hmm. And he had a tragic accident that nearly, killed him, paralyzed him, and he thought he was never going to wrestle again. He ended up retiring. He was put on TNA payroll, and then TNA were scumbags and cut him. And ever since then, he seems to have made a full recovery, and he's been working independent. So tell us about this match with, I mean, Jesse Sorensen. Good for him.
Well,
I mean,
it was like a 30-second match. Every match, because, he wrestled, the first TV taping that was actually Mr. 450 came out. He beat Mr. 450, Baron Corbin versus Mr. 450 in a matter of 10 seconds. I mean, literally, Baron got in the ring, and what is it, the last ride? I think that's the finisher.
Yeah.
450, the last ride, just dead. So then the next match was, I think it was him versus Sorensen. The next episode was him versus Sorensen. Sorensen lasted a little bit longer than ring, but it was essentially the same thing. Maybe it lasted 20 seconds. Then it was Baron Corbin versus Steve Cutler, who was actually he's an NXT roster.
And he's from the Monster. He was trained at the Monster Factory here in Jersey by Danny Cage and Blue Meanie.
I mean, he did the same thing. Basically, come out and beat him in like 10 seconds. And then he wrestled. There's a guy, an indie guy from Germany, I forget his name, that's been doing some stuff. And so he's on NXT side, but he's been coming in. Baron Corbin beat him in like 10 seconds. So then after that, Baron cuts his promos. You can't even hear what he's saying. The crowd's really so loud.
And actually, I'm sorry, I can't really hear what you're starting to break up a little bit. Can you
he cut a promo.
There you go.
After that match where you couldn't even hear what he was saying because it was the crowd was booing so loud. So essentially, but what it was, he's the unstoppable force, yada yada yada. So then Steve Cutler actually come out and tried to attack him, which I was kind of happy because I was like, yeah, Steve Cutler's attacking Baron Corbin. No, this is going to end though. So then Joe comes out and challenges him. So I feel like that's going to be a match on the pay-per-view. Baron Corbin versus Samoa Joe. I think that's what all that was. But they had two decent indie guys because I'm not going to take anything away from 450. 450 is a decent wrestler. I mean, he's huge down in that. This is my thing too with that. Okay, we're talking about the lack of Spanish, Puerto Rican, any type of Mexican, anything Latino, and they've been bringing 450 in, and they've just been letting him just get beat up by whoever. But it's just the lack of credit. Like this whole Baron Corbin thing, just being unstoppable, was just the crowd hates it. The crowd boos him so uncontrollably. But they bring in these indie guys and they just let Baron eat him for dinner. That would run circles around him in an actual match.
I heard that Samoa Joe actually changed his theme song finally, so it actually sounds a hell of a lot better than that whatever garbage that they gave him originally. Is that true?
I don't even remember what it was the first. I hate to say that. I don't even remember what it was the first time.
Oh God, it's hard. It's horrible. It is so horrible. But I heard they did actually change his theme song. I do feel like there's something missing with Samoa Joe in this NXT run. I don't know if it's just the fact that they've given him a bunch of guys that he should just run through like Baron Corbin.
He wrestled Rhino last night, and granted, I mean this comes back to I don't come to NXT to watch Rhino wrestle Samoa Joe. I mean it was a good match. I mean, but I felt like is this 2003? Like, and like you said, but it was actually a really good. I mean, it was a decent match. I mean, I'm definitely I prefer Rhino over Samoa Joe, but I mean, it's just like I don't come to NXT to watch this stuff I've been watching for years. I started watching NXT for something new, something fresh, something different.
Right. I just feel like something's missing.
And watch people. I love to watch like wrestlers evolve and just what they.
Mm-hmm.
To go, they put their every day in and day out. They go and that's what they train at the performance center. And that's what I want to watch those guys.
Right. I just feel like something's been missing with Joe's run. I think it's just the quality. Honestly, I think it's really maybe the quality. Maybe it's the opponents. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that he didn't get a chance to wrestle Finn. I mean,
you broke up real bad. Can you start that over? Whatever you said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I was just saying, like, I feel like with Samoa Joe, something's been missing in this NXT run, and maybe it's just the quality of opposition. Maybe it's the fact that he's gotten old. Maybe it's the fact that, as a hardcore fan, I've seen him in TNA after all these years, and I was excited to see him against Kevin Owens, and now he's just kind of fighting geeks, and I'm a little worried because on one hand, while it does make sense from an age standpoint to put Baron Corbin over Samoa Joe, the guy did sell a hell of a lot of T-shirts. It's his first night in. He's not necessarily in the prime of his career, but he's still a guy that can go. Where do you see this Baron Corbin Samoa Joe thing ending up? Do you see it ending with Corbin having his hand raised, or do you see Samoa Joe taking him out and along the way showing him how to work?
I don't know, because it's kind of like I don't know how to put this without sounding. I want to see Baron get over Joe because it is NXT. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? Like, Baron's been down there putting the work, and Baron's gotten better. My thing with Baron is I feel like there's guys put more work in and gotten better that they haven't pushed as much as they pushed Baron. And that's not taking away from how far Baron has come. I mean, he's lost so much weight. I mean, he's put in the work and stuff like that. He's gotten a little better with the mic and stuff. But if they don't let him beat Joe, I feel like that's almost a slap in the face to everything he's put in the last 4 years down there. 3 years, however long. He got down here on the same time I did, 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like I'd be disgusted with promotion myself if I was him and they let Joe beat him. So it's kind of like.
Well, you know what? You could say that of the sort of the old NXT, but it's it's a different animal. Now they're trying to be Ring of Honor. They're not trying to be developmental. I mean, and honestly though, I mean, I said I might be worried about Joe putting over Corbin. I mean, I guess in reality, if you put over Corbin in NXT, at the end of the day, it's still NXT, and only a fraction of the WWE audience watches NXT. So you could technically still bring Samoa Joe up eventually after he put over Corbin. I mean, that's
what I'm saying. I feel like it's going to be more detrimental to Corbin than it is to Joe. If Joe loses, it's not really whatever. But if Corbin loses, that's really going to take away from this whole legitimacy they're trying to bring to him as this powerhouse. You know what I mean? So I guess essentially, like I said, I feel there's more people that should have got that push more than Corbin. But at the same time, Corbin has put his work in, and I would hate to see everything that he's put in kind of go down the drain. Not go down the drain, but just swept under the rug stuff. Put it because Joe beats him. That's kind of the way I feel like it'll be looked at, because he's teetering on. But then at the same time, the fans hate the fact that he's been unstoppable, so they may. I don't. It's a really weird
like I said, he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys, along with like Dana Brooke, that's in a tough position because they are improving and they are there to develop. But at the same time, you're catering to a very hardcore base that's that's unlike you and some of the NXT original fans. That's now tuning in to see the guys that used to watch in Ring of Honor and TNA.
I feel like the tag team division is the only thing that's still got the essence of NXT, the original NXT.
Yeah, and like, Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, your boy, are making waves. I'm liking Chad Gable a lot. I really am.
That's what last night was. They had some really good tag matches. They had I'll talk about Jason and Gable were really good together because they're both like. Well, of course, Gable was an Olympian, and Jason was like an All-American athlete, like in all kinds of sports, wrestling, football. And they both kind of balanced each other out. And I forget who they wrestled Elias Sampson and this other guy that made his name. I forget. I don't want to say his name. It's something weird. I don't want to say it the wrong way. Levitz or something like. And tag team Elias Sampson and Gable, and Jordan beat them. But the big upset everybody was all upset about was when my boys, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, actually beat Enzo and Cass last night. And that was kind of like, whoa, because Dawson and Dash have kind of been, because they're such an old school team, like, Dawson's so much like Arn Anderson, and that was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. So, like I said, Dawson's my favorite wrestler on that roster right now. And for them to beat Enzo and Cass, everybody else in the whole place was like, oh my God. And I'm like, yes. And then they actually, so now we have the Hype Brothers as a tag team, which is Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley. Mm-hmm. And that's just, I don't even want to start on that. But they faced Dawson and Dash faced them later on in another episode. And the Hype Brothers beat them, but then Dawson and Dash came back into the ring and whooped them afterwards. So I feel like they're about maybe they're going to push Dawson and Dash. That's what I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that Jason and Gable get a push too, because I feel like if they were going to put the belts on the Vaudevillains or Cass and Enzo, they would have done did it. So I really feel like the next NXT tag champs are going to be Dawson and Dash, or Jason and Gable, and I'd be good with either one of them because, like I said, Dawson and Jordan both have been down there in developmental for longer than I've lived down here, so more than 4 years. And I don't think Dawson's ever held a belt. Jason held the belt with CJ as a tag team champion, and that's
it. Right, yeah. I mean, I would like to, and you know what? I would really like to see them kind of really clean up the main roster a bit, too. It'd be nice for them to not just bring up, I mean, look, I'd like to see everybody be brought up with a big debut and everything, but it'd be nice if they just kind of recycled some guys that have been on the main roster forever, like Curtis Axel, put him in NXT, and do a trade and put guys like Dawson in there. Not everybody needs to be a main eventer. Dawson would be a perfectly good.
Oh my God, Dawson's so good.
Dawson would be a perfectly good mid-card guy to have some good matches with, make talent look good, get occasional wins. I'm trying to think too. Like Tyler Breeze is a guy I feel like that could be on the main roster right now. Just like you need some new blood, you need some fresh talent. A lot of these guys, unfortunately, on the main roster have been beaten like a drum. All this crappy even Steven booking. I mean, it would eventually happen with the NXT talent called up anyway. But, for now, I mean, we need some new blood. Why not? I'll at least, start slowly phasing them in with, superstars and main event. And then kind of, bringing them into dark matches. And, I think SmackDown, that show's ever so stagnant. I mean, it would totally benefit from having...
That used to be my favorite show. I love SmackDown.
Yeah, it's totally stagnant right now. It'd be so great if they brought in guys like Wilder and, Dawson and, Breeze and guys like that. And... and whomever in the Vaudevillains, just to change it up a little bit, you know what I mean? While promoting NXT,
main roster really dropped the ball with the Ascension too.
Oh God, don't even get me started with the Ascension. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of them in NXT, but I could see why WWE might like them. But my God, they were brought in as a joke from the beginning, and yeah, what do you want me to say? But on a positive,
I mean, I was really disappointed in all that because. They're good. I mean, they've wrestled forever, both of them. I mean, they really could have did more with them, and they
could have done a lot with a lot of people. But on a positive note, let's end this thing on a positive note. Our girl Bayley, and I'm rocking my "I'm a Hugger" T-shirt right now. Bayley beat Charlotte and Becky Lynch to earn a title shot.
On a roll.
Yeah, she's on a roll. She earned a title shot. And she will be in one of the main events of the Barclays Center show the night before SummerSlam against Sasha Banks, where she should presumably win the NXT Women's Championship finally. What do you think about Bayley in these recent tapings?
I was pretty, because she's kind of aggressive. It's because she's good at balancing because she's still going to keep that, her whole charismatic caters to kids and stuff like that. But she was pretty like aggressive, and she's good at maintaining that. She, the aggressiveness without losing the kitty appeal, the family appeal. That's what she brings down there, and she was, really good. I was impressed by her last night because from what she was hurt too, from what I understand, for like nothing major, but she was out a little bit, and she came back last night and cleaned house. So, and I think logically it would make sense for her to win that belt from Sasha. Sasha's going to main roster. Like I said, there was nobody else that's ready to be a champion down there female-wise other than her. Becky and Sasha and Charlotte are main roster now, technically. So, yeah, I'm happy for her. Bayley's been down there putting her work in a long time, too. She's one that I've watched get better and better.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing her kick ass and hopefully in Brooklyn win the NXT Women's Championship. Kim, before I let you go, I want to let everybody know where they can find you all online.
You can find me on Twitter at Regalize_it. Also, it's at CJ Parker Info, which also I run the CJ Parker website, www.cjparker.info. So that's basically where you can find me. I have Instagram and whatnot. You just got to find Kimberly Angle, Facebook, there too. And a CJ Parker Facebook page.
MySpace.
So.
No, I'm just kidding. No, my. Well, do you have a MySpace?
What were you saying?
I was joking. I said MySpace.
Oh, I said, yeah, MySpace. Okay, yeah, 1997. No.
Well, actually, more like 2005. But what? Hey, who's keeping track here? Just Google Kimberly Angle NXT. She's easy to find. Worst comes to worst, if you can't find her, just tweet me at Frederick China or tweet us at Sports Courier, and we'll direct you to all the links to follow Kim Angle and all her escapades. Just please don't be a creeper, or we'll send CJ Parker and Finn Balor to kick your ass.
Well, hey, let me throw one more thing out there, because we all know CJ's in Europe, and he's got a huge championship match tomorrow night at Celtic Championship Wrestling for the championship belt. That's in Cork, Ireland. So I'm going to wish him good luck, too.
Best of luck, CJ Parker, and in his Euro trip, having a great time. CJParker.info, at Regalize_it. Kim, thanks so much for your time.
No problem. Have a good night, Fred. Thanks.